This is the story of my first solo backpacking trip. And let's just say that it was a huge step in my journey of solo backpacking. I went from never solo backpacking ever to going on a 6-day solo backpacking trip. I had also never gone to a camping place before. I've never seen a camping place. I've never stayed at a camping place. I had never set up a tent by myself until this trip. Let's just say I really jumped into it. I spent several weeks planning for this trip, but it was so difficult. No matter how much I tried, I just couldn't relax. I was just thinking about all the things that could go wrong on this trip. Before I left, I always had the thought in my mind of canceling. It's the easy way out, but I felt like I had to do this trip. I went to this place called Lofoten. It's an archipelago in Norway consisting of many islands situated in the Arctic Circle. So it's far up north where it's very cold. It's visited by millions of people from all over the world. It's a place rich with history and culture. It houses the largest Viking longhouse ever found in history. In Lofoten, they still make dried fish the same way the Vikings did. Anyway, this video is just my whole journey of my backpacking trip from start to finish and what I did every single day of my trip. And I have made a lot of mistakes that I'm ready to share for you guys. Hopefully you learned something from my mistakes, and if you don't, it's probably going to be entertaining to watch anyway. The first day of my trip, I had to wake up so early. I think I got like only 2 or 3 hours of sleep that night. The first day was basically a travel day. I first had to take a bus to the airport, take a plane, walk for 40 minutes, take a ferry for 3 hours, and walk for 10 minutes. And then I finally arrived to where I was sleeping. I had never been to a camping place before. I had no idea how it worked, but I just put myself together and went to the reception, and I found out that I had nothing to worry about. I learned so much about camping places that day. I didn't realize there were going to be so many people there. I also didn't know how good the facilities would be. I had access to showers, a bathroom, a common area, and I could even buy some food if I needed to there. I definitely felt safe for my first night in Lofoten. So I'm so glad I went to a camping place to ease my way into this backpacking trip. Here's the entrance, and I hung up my towel. There's a band-aid. I found a hole in the tent, so I had to cover it. Here's my pillow. It's a sleeping bag cover with my clothes in it. And here's my sleeping bag. Basically, this is my bed, you know. My shoes. It's like the indoor area. This is my kitchen in here. That's my kitchen. This is my toilet stuff. And this is my office with my electricity stuff and my papers. And here's my fun time area. On day 2, I went up this mountain called Reinebringen. It was this most gorgeous, beautiful mountain, but it wasn't easy getting up there. There were over 4,000 steps going straight up the mountain. It was straight up, all the way to the top. This is the bag I packed for my hike today. All the essentials, food, first aid kit, wipes. I have a knife in here too. And battery pack, sunscreen. I remember that when I was going up these steps, like halfway through the hike, I was feeling so nauseous. And it wasn't because I was like overexerting myself. It was because I still felt all of the stress and anxiety from the day before. I'm feeling so nauseous, I'm not feeling well. I just couldn't get my body to relax at all. But I'm glad that I went on that hike because I could put my mind to something else and enjoy the nature. This was also the day I saw my first dried fish. In Lofoten, there's this old tradition of drying fish every year. I was there during the right time of the year before they started taking down the fish, so I was lucky enough to see all of the fish. It was kind of stinky, but since it was later in the drying season, it wasn't too bad to smell, to be honest. I was so curious I had to try this fish, so I got some dried fish, and it was pretty costly, but I had to try it. My first impression was it was so smelly. And then I tried it, and honestly, the taste isn't that bad. The worst part of the fish is that it smells so fishy, like just this rotten, fishy smell. The thing about this fish is that it's loaded in protein. I believe it's like 80% protein, and it's full of vitamins and minerals. Day 3, I went to this really unique place called sooo. It has such a short name, I can't believe it. Like, it's only sooo. And honestly, I have to admit it, I only wanted to go there just because of its name. I think it's been 6 years since I've heard of the little town, and I've been spending like 6 years thinking, oh, I really want to go to this place just so I can say I've been to sooo. Anyway, this day was going to be a very cloudy, cold day, and it was a Sunday, so I couldn't really do anything anyway. And then I found out that on that Sunday, the bus only went like 4 times that day. So I was just so stressed the whole day, like, what if I miss this bus? What if I can't get back to my camping place? I just had all these stupid thoughts and worried so much. But I just went for it. I left all of my camping gear at the camping place, and I took all of my valuables with me. And I went and explored this really cute little village. One thing I learned was that it was full of birds. They were everywhere, like on all of the houses, and it was so cute to see. Just like walked around the whole area and like went up in the hills and on the ocean. It was really nice. And then I got really hungry, and I found out that, of course, right when I was hungry, the only restaurant in that village was closed, and I was sad. I was able to get a very overpriced waffle at one of the museums or something, but it was worth it because I was hungry and I got to stay inside in a warm place. Since the bus only went like 4 times that day, there was a lot of waiting time. I basically explored the whole village within a span of, I don't know, an hour, and I just kept going in circles, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. I'm just gonna sit on this bench and wait an hour and a half for the bus. And I was still like on my nerves, even though it's been a few days into this trip. A really fun thing that happened while I was sitting at the bus stop was that the bus driver, he saw that I was sitting by myself, and he came up to me and he was like, do you want to have some tea? And I was like, yes, of course, that would be so nice. And then he just like brought me this tea. It was like a rose hip tea. And I was like, I wonder if I have to pay for this. But he never said anything, and he just like gave it to me for free. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. He literally made my day. And honestly, I'm just gonna remember it forever because it was just such a nice gesture, and he was such a nice guy. And I think he was really wondering, like, what is this little tiny woman doing all by herself in this bus stop, sitting in the cold rain for an hour? And all I can say is that I am so thankful for that bus driver. He just made my spirits go up so much, and he made me feel less stressed. I was supposed to go to this beach called Haukelandstranda. It's a very popular mainstream beach that a lot of people go to. But it was kind of hard to get with the bus. I believe I had to walk an hour and 30 minutes on the road to Haukelandstranda. And I just thought, this is way too much work for me. I was already really tired for some reason. I didn't think it would be safe to walk on the road for a whole hour and a half. The roads in Lofoten are so narrow and small that it's easy for something bad to happen, you know? From advice I got from other people, I decided to go to Lofoten Beach Camp. The great thing about this destination was that it was right next to the bus stop. So I could just take the bus from my camping area and then take it for like an hour and just arrive right at the destination. And I was just so happy for that. It made me way less stressed out. This day was definitely a game changer. It was by far one of the nicest days in Lofoten. It was sunny for almost the whole entire day. And when I arrived at the bus stop, I just immediately smelled the ocean, and it was so amazing. It was just this fresh, beautiful smell with a nice breeze. I went to the reception and paid for my stay, and I quickly just set up my tent. I was right on the beach. It was absolutely beautiful. I found a perfect spot, only a few steps from the sand. I had never been to such a beautiful beach before. There were these massive, pointy mountains with a dichotomy of very flat beaches filled with white, beautiful sand. There were also these beautiful seashells covering the beaches like a scattered rainbow. I was just sitting in my tent, and my tent has this window in it, and I was looking through the window onto the beach, and it was just absolutely amazing. You could hear the waves roaring in the background, and it made you feel so at peace. There were hardly any people at this beach, and I was so thankful for that, because one of my biggest worries was going to an overcrowded beach. I just wanted to be at peace and be one with nature, and I found the right place. There were only a few tents around the area, and I just felt like it was such a nice and peaceful place. Once I set up my tent, I went and explored the area and got to know the camping place a little bit better. I found out that they had these very nice showers and toilet area, and they even had a cafe, and I saw that they had tacos. So I was super excited for that. But I had some other things to tick off my list. And the first one was an Arctic plunge. And I had never swam in the ocean this far up north before. And I was so excited. I was just running with adrenaline, so ready to go hop out in the water. And when I was going to go swimming, it started getting cloudy and actually started raining a little bit. And I was like, I'm not backing down, I'm gonna go in the water. So I just ran straight into the water and it was freezing cold. Oh my gosh, I just remember my whole body was just getting ice cold. But I was like, I'm going in, I'm gonna have the time of my life. And I really did. Thankfully, they did have showers, so I could warm myself up with a shower afterwards, but that was one of the most freeing experiences ever. I just felt so at peace, and I believe this was definitely a turning point in my trip. This was the time where all of the stress, all of the worry was worth it. I got to experience this amazing opportunity, and I felt like I was at peace with myself. After having an amazing sleep at the beach, I really didn't want to leave the beach. This was probably the best point of my trip. It was the point where all of the stress had accumulated over the past few days. I was sick with nausea.
I'm feeling so nauseous, I'm not feeling well.
And I was getting sleepless nights.
I didn't get that much sleep last night.
And it wasn't until this point where I finally found peace. I came to the realization that I didn't want to leave the beach. All the tension from the past few days had built until this point, and I finally felt at ease with camping solo. I didn't need anyone else. I could figure out things by myself. But I realized that everything comes to an end, and I had one more thing on my bucket list that I wanted to cross off. So I had to leave that beach. The next thing to check off my bucket list was going to Lofoten Museum, and it's a famous Viking museum in Lofoten. They actually reconstructed the Viking longhouse that they found there. That Viking longhouse they found is the biggest they've ever found in Norway, and actually the biggest they've ever found in the whole world so far. It housed one of the most powerful and rich Vikings at the time. So I was excited to go see the reconstruction. The museum was amazing. There were so many activities for me to do and things to see. There were these different sections in the longhouse where you could dress up as a Viking. And there was also an area where you could eat Viking food. There was also this opportunity to go ride in a Viking ship. They reconstructed a Viking ship, and I was like, I have to do this. So I got on the ship, and I was scared for my life. The winds were strong. And I could see that the people steering the ship were also they were stressed out. It looked like they didn't really have things under control because the winds were just so strong. They almost lost the sail. People almost fell overboard because of the strong winds. But even with that scary experience, it was definitely worth it. It was just so cool. And I could just picture what it was like being out in the storm as a Viking back in the days. I also tried this axe throwing thing, and I found out that I'm pretty good at axe throwing, so I want to try that again because that was really fun. Next thing I knew, I took the bus all the way to this place called Coelho. There, I actually had whale steak. Now, before I get any hate comments, eating whale in Norway is a long-standing tradition. I believe Norway is only one of 3 countries in the world that still hunts whale. And it's because Norway has this long tradition of hunting whale. And then I met this really nice chef at the camping ground, and he recommended me having the whale beef. It was just such a nice experience because the chef was so nice and talkative, and he was genuinely surprised that I was all by myself. But he's like, you know, it's safe in Norway, so it's fine. Also, while he was making me my meal, I saw one of the seagulls fly down towards the grill and it just stole this huge piece of whale, and it just flew out the other way, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was probably a really expensive piece of meat that I just all of a sudden just stole. I just thought it was so hilarious at the time. After that amazing meal, I went out for a little walk, and then I went back to my tent and called it a night. And then I was awoken in the middle of the night with a huge storm. It was raining like crazy, and my tent was just blowing back and forth. And I literally thought the wind was gonna take me. That was a nice awakening for my last night. Even though I didn't really want to leave Lofoten, this rude awakening made me realize that everything comes to an ending, and it was about time to get home. On this trip, I learned that you don't need to stress. Even though it can be scary going on a solo backpacking trip, there's nothing really to worry about. Everything ends up sorting for itself. Especially in Norway, it's such a safe place to go to. I didn't have to worry about my safety or any dangerous people or anything like that. I also learned that people think way too much about themselves. I realized on that trip that I was thinking about myself all the time. I was thinking about, what if I'm awkward when I'm talking to this person? What if there's someone that wants to talk to me when I'm pitching up my tent? I learned that I didn't have to worry because I met these amazing people. I met this really nice man on the bus, and we talked for hours about backpacking. I also made friends with the chef at Coelho, and I got some great tips from people on the ferry about where I should go in Lofoten. I also want to say that you shouldn't be scared about taking the first leap. Start small and don't go as crazy as I did. There are so many people that want to support you, and they will help you during your journey. That's what I experienced. All of the people I met on my trip just wanted to help me out. All of the stress that accumulated over the time was completely unnecessary. I had nothing to worry about. We should always strive to push ourselves to grow as people. Quick intermission. Why would anyone want to like the like button? Like the like button? Maybe it's a challenge. Why am I so weird? What the heck? If you like this video, please give it a like and comment down below if you've actually gone solo backpacking before. I really want to know where you guys have gone and what your experience was the first time you went by yourself. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe down below. I don't know what else to say. I think I'm done filming this video because I'm getting delirious. Okay, bye.